Hey, it's Stan Nichols. Be sure to check out Blue Collar Boys.
Hey everyone, Matt Gates here with my man Tommy Nichols. Check out Blue Collar Voice.
Toodles.
Hey, I'm Dave Peach, County Commissioner, District 4. I want you to check out the Blue Collar Voice and Tommy Nichols.
What's going on, guys? I'm Tommy Nichols, Blue Collar Voice, here with Miss Marilynn Farrow. She is a candidate for Milton City Council, Ward 2, Seat 1. How you doing today, Miss Marilynn?
Doing great. How are
it's
you,
nice
Tommy?
to actually get to sit with you and talk with you. First time I got to meet her was at the ribbon cutting ceremony for the Milton, the new courthouse there in over in Avalon, Milton, whatever you want to call it. But we got to talk for a little bit, and glad we're able to set this one up. And she's our first candidate for the Milton City Council races that we're able to sit down and interview. So, and this is the first ever that I've done an interview with a candidate running for the city of Milton. So this is pretty neat right here.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it,
I
Tom.
love it. I love it. You ready to get into it?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty. And guys, you know how we do it. Personal questions are part one. Get to know this young lady. Part two, we jump into some of the questions that you guys have sent us and some of the things that we've seen people talking about. And we put it out there and let you guys decide. We don't try to push you one way or another, try to manipulate how you think. You watch the interview, listen to the answers, and you decide what you want to do. Alrighty. Let's get rolling. All right. Part one, personal questions. Who are you?
Well, my name is Marilynn Farrow, and I lived in Illinois and Georgia and always dreamt about living in one more place. My husband always wanted to move back to Pensacola area.
Okay.
He graduated from Milton High School, and we found a home right in the city of Milton. Had never lived in a city before. I always lived in unincorporated areas.
Okay.
So I feel like the Lord had a plan for us to live in a city. That was 6 years ago, and right away when we moved here, we started attending city meetings.
And you got an eye full, I'm sure, right as soon as you started.
It got quite an education, Tommy.
Yes, yes. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Welcome to Santa Rosa County. All right. What do you / did you do for a living, and why did you choose this profession?
Well, I actually retired the day we closed on our house here. I worked in many different backgrounds, many different types of work. I'm an educator. I'm a businesswoman. Okay. Most recently, I worked with special needs infants and toddlers. I taught the parents and the teachers how to help these children learn, and that was probably the most rewarding job that I had. Prior to that, I worked with my husband in a very successful retail business in Georgia.
Awesome. That right there, that part where you're helping those kids right there, that's special right there. And that takes a special type of person to do that type of work. So that says a lot about you as a person.
Thank you.
Now, how do you think those jobs are going to help you prepare for the seat?
Well, I have a wide range of experience. I have managerial experience. I worked with people from all walks of life. I've managed a staff of 15 employees at the retail business, and I did many different tasks there.
Right.
I have good organizational skills, and I think I can bring these all to help in being a councilwoman.
And what are your biggest career and life accomplishments?
Well, I'd say the job as a teacher of the special needs children was quite an accomplishment.
Yes.
I had a heart for autistic children especially, and prior to that, just growing the business with my husband, the retail business. We started with a piggy bank where we had saved money to build this business.
Really?
And yes, sir. And
that's
it
good
grew
stuff. Wow.
It grew to be very successful.
Literally from the ground up.
Yes.
Right there. That's good stuff. Alrighty. What was your biggest issue that you have faced either in your life or career or anything like that? What was the biggest thing that stood out to you?
Well, about 20 years ago, I developed a mysterious illness, and I went through a lot of medical testing and saw many neurologists. I was very debilitated, but the Lord saw to it that I was healed from that. The doctors never really came up with a definitive diagnosis.
Wow.
But I finally just decided to get off all the medications that the doctors had me on, and I'm much stronger and healthier today.
Wow.
It's a miracle.
Yes, that is absolutely a miracle. Reminds me of something years ago. There was a gentleman that walked into my dad's office years ago when it was right there where the Pace Chamber is now. It was a local builder that done work with Dad, and he walked in and he passed out, dropped out. Come to find out, he had a big lump, and they gave him months to live. And he put it in the hands of the man upstairs and went back in a couple weeks, some odd time later, and they couldn't understand, but it was gone.
Wow.
So
That's amazing.
miracles absolutely do happen,
Yes.
guys.
You do.
What is your favorite thing about the city of Milton?
Well, I love the small town feel. I have wonderful neighbors. I enjoy the river walk. I
Yes.
don't really have one single favorite thing, but
Right.
I like that it's close to the beach, lots of woods, lots of farmland nearby, and just a nice variety.
Yes, it is. You can do everything right there. Some
Yes.
people they only have the beach or they only have the river. No, not us. We're blessed. We have
That's
a little
right.
bit of it all right there. All right, guys. Now the meat and potatoes. Part 2, the political questions. Question 1: why are you running now?
Well, since January, I became aware of a big issue before the council. It was called Ordinance X, and it was presented by the Milton Historic Preservation Board. It later became known as the Certified Local Government Ordinance.
Okay.
As I studied this proposed ordinance, I was just very concerned about a lot of different issues surrounding property rights, government overreach. It just seemed like it was just wrong.
Right.
And as I got to learn more about it through talking with other concerned citizens, I just became more and more interested in city government and started going to many of the meetings. And ultimately, that ordinance was defeated. So that just kind of led to more of an understanding of the city government
Right.
and what some of the issues and concerns were. I had concerns about some transparency in city government. I had some concerns and still do about public input and how it's received
Right.
and how it's sometimes squelched.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So those are some of the things that I'd like to work on.
Absolutely. Some very good things right there. Now, who are some of your political influences that you admire?
Well, I admire my husband. He's always been politically involved since we dated, and this kind of dates me, but I'm okay with it. I'm in my wisdom years.
Yeah, there you go. Nothing wrong
So
with that.
when we were dating back in the 80s, there was a huge development that was being built near our home in Georgia.
Right.
And there was just not enough infrastructure, not enough.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, doesn't it sound familiar? Not enough place for schools and fire and police. So he worked very hard to try to increase the infrastructure, and he did have some success with that, along with some other activists. So at the time, I was not politically involved, but as I saw him work in different areas of government, I became more interested in it and saw that that's something that I needed to do as well.
Absolutely. And we need as many folks like that as possible, especially today. What is the biggest issue in Milton, in your opinion, at this time? Why is it the biggest issue, and how would you fix it?
Oh my goodness.
I know there's quite a few, so I'm not putting it on you right there.
Yeah. There are quite a few, so I would have trouble narrowing it down to one single one. Just at the last meeting, there were numerous matters brought up. One was the increase in the utility rates that will be voted on soon, I think later this month. One of the councilmen actually presented a compromise to what was being presented
Right.
by other council members. And I thought it was a reasonable compromise to kind of graduate in the increases.
Right.
But it didn't seem like that went over very well with the council. So unfortunately, it seemed like that councilman wasn't going to get his way with that.
Wow. Alrighty, with all the growth all over, we just hit on this a little bit, all over Santa Rosa County, we are all experiencing a lot of new issues and concerns. What do you see will be Milton's biggest concern, and how would you fix it?
Well, I think there needs to be some growth, but controlled growth.
Absolutely.
A friend brought to my attention today something that I hadn't thought of, and that was that with all this increased growth, not only are there concerns about infrastructure, but also evacuation routes.
Yep.
How will people get out of Dodge if they can't?
Exactly. We have another Michael or Ivan or something like that coming through. It's going to be hectic. And there's been some other folks I noticed that's hit on that. Dr. Rudman hit on that, and one of the candidates from Escambia County, Greg Litton, hit on that as well. So that's an issue all over right there. That's a scary thing right there. I remember years ago when Hurricane Aaron came through. I was a little boy, and we had evacuated, and the roads were so packed that the storms was coming in, and they had told us, if you're not in a place now, get somewhere in a ditch or somewhere low. And I was a little kid hearing that and seeing all these cars, but eventually we made it where we was going. But I couldn't imagine a kid or somebody like going through that today when there shouldn't be a reason for that. But yeah, sadly, that's an issue that we have to deal with. There are a lot of dangerous intersections in Milton, such as Dogwood and Hamilton Bridge, and Stewart Street and Magnolia. How do we make these intersections as safe as possible for the citizens of Milton?
Well, there are mile-vision cameras that were recently installed, and they seem to be having a positive effect on control of traffic. I'm looking forward to learning more about how that's working.
Yeah. Now, see, that's pretty neat right there, because I didn't have a clue what those were. I just see them pop up everywhere, and so that's what they're doing right there, monitoring the traffic.
Yes, sir.
Okay, nice. Need all the help we can get right there.
We
That's
do.
for certain. With all the local leaders comes the budget. First, have you seen it and went over it? Was there anything you saw that brings concern? And what can you do to see that every penny is used properly for the citizens?
Well, today, while I was at home here on Labor Day, I went ahead and I printed the agenda for the meeting that's going to be tomorrow night. And the budget is in that packet, either for tomorrow's meeting or the next meeting later in the month.
Gotcha.
So I'll be reviewing all this prior
Gotcha.
to the meeting.
Alrighty, good stuff. Alrighty, the Milton Police Department seems to be behind the 8 ball with all the growth and more folks that are moving here. How can you assure the safety of the citizens of Milton, and what, if any, changes would you implement to make the department better? Which, now, I gotta say, Milton's Police Department is absolutely amazing. The chief, everybody are awesome folks, but the citizens sent the question, so I've gotta ask
Okay.
it to this young lady. I'll hit on it again real quick. The Milton Police Department seems to be behind the 8 ball with all the growth. How can you assure the safety of the citizens of Milton, and what, if any, changes would you implement to make the department better?
That's something I'd like to learn more about. I'd like to sit down and talk with Chief Tyndall and just see what he feels needs to be done.
Working hand in hand.
Yes, sir.
Alrighty, and that's a good thing to hear right there. That somebody that, if you don't know something, find the person or the people that do know it and get with them and learn about it to make it better. That's a good thing right there, because sadly we see in so many politicians that they think they have all the answers and don't want to work with anybody else. So thank you for that right there.
Sure.
One of the things that came up the last few years that seemed to cause some issues was the BLM movement, and Milton, of course, had their share of items that it was faced with. Some of the items was the painting of roads with the slogan and the sign in downtown Milton. As a citizen at the time, what was your opinion on this? And if this was to come up again while you're in office, how are you going to handle this?
Well, when that came up, it was right during COVID. I was not going to the meetings, but I was watching them online on occasion, and I did express public input to the council at the time, and I was opposed to painting the roads, and I just didn't agree with that because I believe all lives matter.
I absolutely say it for the people in the back. Do you support Recall Florida? If so, why or why not?
Actually, I believe that we get to recall a legislator every time we go to the ballot box.
You're right. You're absolutely correct.
So I'm not in support of that.
Okay, I got you. All right. If constitutional carry or open carry is ever passed in Florida, would you be in favor of it, and would you mind it in the city of Milton?
That's another one I would have to study more on, but I do believe in our Second Amendment rights.
Alrighty.
I don't own a gun myself, but if I did, I would want the right to use it and to carry it.
Absolutely. You said the perfect answer right there. You support the second right there, so I think that citizen's going to be happy with that answer. One of the biggest concerns lately have been the bridge coming into Milton from East Milton. There have been a few different options provided to solve it. If you could make the final call on what to do, what resolution would you choose, and most of all, why?
Well, I was disturbed by the council agreeing to spend $100,000 for an alternative study. I feel like FDOT already studied the issue at length, and I went to a TPO meeting, the Transportation Planning Organization meeting, and provided public input opposing the alternate plan. I understand it's a very emotional issue for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
But practically, I just think that the widening of 90 with the FDOT plan is the best route to take.
Gotcha.
Pardon the pun.
Good to go. All right, speaking of that right there, that's the next question, which you already hit on it, but I'll ask it anyway. Another big issue that is tied to the bridge is the possibility of four-laning downtown, and where do you stand? So you already answered that question. Now, moving on. With the new courthouse now built and the old one will now be empty, what, if anything, would you like to be done with it and that area?
I think there are possibilities for that plot of land. I'm not sure if anything can be done with the building, with what I'm hearing about mold and other toxins in the building. But maybe that plot of land could be made into something beautiful that would attract tourists.
Yes, absolutely. It'd be a waste not to be used for something. It's such a beautiful area too, with with all that and all that history right there. We got to find something. I'm sure you guys will as well. There are some bars and restaurants in Milton, especially near the river, that would like for patrons to be able to carry their drinks from location to location and to walk out down by the river with them. Where do you stand on the issue of bringing your drink from locale to locale, and why do you have this feeling? And what do you want to say to the restaurants or bars that want this, and to those that do not want this? Now, this is something that I spoke with somebody that's currently on the board with about it, and this came up. And so I wanted to put this out there to those that are running for it and see where you guys are at on that.
Okay. This just came up at the last committee of the whole meeting, in fact, that I was attending. And I did not speak up at the time because the council asked for the police chief, the police staff, and the attorney to present their study to the council. I imagine that will be coming up at one of the meetings here in September. But I'm opposed to expanding open containers. It's already allowed at Bands of the Blackwater, and the police chief pointed out that that is just a certain number of weeks in the year.
Right.
It's limited to a time frame, so it can't go on into the wee hours, but it's limited to the hours during which Bands of the Blackwater is held.
You're correct.
That seems reasonable. but to allow it throughout the city or even in certain areas
Right.
concerns me. And over the years, we've seen that the allowance of alcohol has been expanded gradually. So it just keeps growing, and I don't see the need for that. If we're going to keep a family atmosphere in Milton, I think it's not a good idea
Right.
to have
There's
open
there's
containers.
plenty of places and plenty of other opportunities for somebody to do that, and then you got just keep it family oriented. I understand completely. All right, what is the first thing that you plan to do the night you win? When you win and it's all over, and they say you are the winner, you're the next council member. What's the first thing you want to do? Throw a little bit of fun in there, real quick.
Okay, well, I think I'll take a little vacation.
Yes.
I will thank all my supporters. I will thank the Lord for His hand over my election, and then I'll go to work and I'll print the packet and I'll study for the next meeting to prepare for it. So
Hit the road running.
That's right.
Absolutely, and that's what we got to have right there. Do you agree with the end justifies the means in the decision-making process?
I do not agree with that. If the end compromises our freedoms and liberties.
I agree. I love that. If a citizen of Milton is interested, and this is what I was talking about, guys, I promise you, we're gonna get to all of her information and we're gonna get it out there. So if a citizen in Milton is interested in you as a candidate, how can they get to know you better?
Okay. Well, they can look at my Facebook page, Marilynn for Milton, is what they would just need to search, and it's Marilynn with 2 N's.
Yes, I made that mistake.
And they can also phone me. My phone number is also on the Facebook page.
Okay.
And they can email me. And it's marylynnformilton@proton.me.
Okay.
And it's Marilynn, F-O-R, Milton.
Gotcha. And guys, as we do with everyone, we're going to put all their information on the screen so you can reach out to her and have any questions, comments, or whatever. I'm certain she will answer anything you've got. Why should the great citizens of Milton choose you over your opponent, who has already served as a mayor of Milton?
Well, the former mayor does have experience with the city.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't have a relative serving on the council, and I think that's one thing that distinguishes.
Right. You need to look at everything and weigh everything before you go vote. Now, Ms. Marrow, is there anything that you would like to hit on or cover, or any message or anything that you would like to get out there to the people and the wonderful citizens of Milton?
Well, I would just like for the citizens to know how important it is for them to attend the city meetings.
Yes.
They can go on miltonfl.org, and they can see when all the meetings are held. They're all held at City Hall. Most of them are at 5:30 in the evening. Yet they can see the agenda. They can place public input on a form there. They can find contact information for all the council people and the mayor, and that public input and attendance at the meetings is so important. And I've already seen that it's made a difference just with that Historic Preservation Board.
Yes,
ordinance.
absolutely. And there's so much going on in the city of Milton and the Historical Society, everything right there. You are so blessed to live where you live at over there. I grew up when I was a little boy over in East Milton, constantly going back and forth through Milton, and 8th generation St. Rosa County citizen, so know the history. And that is one thing that I love about this area. The history is absolutely amazing. And right there in downtown Milton, there is a bunch of history, guys. So you guys know the history of your city, know where you live, research it, dig into it, and get involved. Get involved with what's going on. Go to these meetings, meet these candidates, meet those that are on the board, because they represent you. They're not just up there doing what they want, they're doing what you want them to do. That's why it's important for the more people to get involved, the better decisions that these people can make. So get involved, and for the love of Pete, vote. Go
Yes.
vote. Oh my goodness. Me and Pete Peters was talking about that. You see it all over social media. I'm sure you see it as well. People are upset for this reason or that reason. And then when you get an opportunity to do something about it, nobody shows up and votes. But then the very next day, you'll see the same ones on Facebook or social media upset about it. And it's like, you know, it's nobody's fault but your own. If your candidate doesn't win or something you don't want doesn't pass, that's on you. You know, you've got to get out and do your part. But Miss Farrow, it has been an absolute honor to sit with you, get to know you, and honor to have you on as our first first ever city council candidate. This is an historic moment with BCB right here, guys. So this is pretty cool. I was nervous as heck before we got going. I'm not gonna lie, because you know I've been focused on all the county, the state and federal elections and all that, doing all the other stuff, and then I had to pivot real quick and start getting ready for this. And how I do things is I reach out and say, hey, we're about to interview these candidates. Give me your questions, concerns, and so I can ask them. So I was like, we only got 2 questions. Not good. And so it forced me to start doing more research and reaching out and come up with some good questions and everything. And I'm sure I didn't hit on everything. I'm not perfect by no means. So y'all don't get upset with me. And if there's anything I missed on, get it to me or reach out to her and ask her. She will be grateful to answer your questions, guys, because like I just said, it's you guys that are in charge. You're the ones making the call. She's just a voice. So get involved. Answer. She will answer your questions. I promise you. She sit here and answered all these. So anyway, guys, I'm Tommy Nichols, Blue Collar Voice, with Miss Marilynn Farrow, City Council candidate. It has been an honor. It has been a privilege. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tommy.
You have a
Appreciate it
blessed
very
day.
much. You also.
Toodles, guys. Can you tell I was nervous?
Oh, not at all.
Hey everyone, Matt Gates here with my man Tommy Nichols. Check out Blue Collar Voice.
Toodles.
Hey, I'm Dave Peach, County Commissioner, District 4. Want you to check out the Blue Collar Voice and Tommy Nichols.
Hey, it's Stan Nichols. Be sure to check out Blue Collar Boys.